People spend years building the perfect routine, like, which is bullshit. When you're trying to improve your life, when you're trying to get into what you call it self-improvement, stuff like that, and you're genuinely trying to improve your life, and you see this self-improvement creators like overly sad, like overly indulged in self-improvement. I don't know how to like describe them in such a way, where basically their whole life is revolving around meditation, like journaling, this and that stuff. They'll tell you to build a perfect routine, like waking up at 5 a.m., this, that stuff, cold shower, like, which has genuinely zero impact in your life. And I'm being honest with you guys, seriously. This is coming from someone who has this experience. And yes, I'm not saying this routines and all these activities do not have any sort of benefits. Definitely they do. Like, they have so many genuine benefits that kind of like improves your life in so many ways. Take an example for journaling. It really helps with raising your awareness. I agree with that shit as well. Meditating for a few minutes a day is like really great. I understand it. But this is genuinely coming from someone who has this experience. If your life, like seriously, if your life is such at the low level, just like me, like you're just like a dumb, idiotic person, first of all, you need to accept that shit. If you are just someone who is nothing, who hasn't earned a single penny in his life, who is just a dumbass broke person, then just like me, you need to accept that shit, alright? And that's how you are going to start changing first, right? And genuinely there you're going to start, taking your steps in the ways of improvements. And you start copying this improvements activities about all these creators and this whole successful people do. You will start creating like a loop that's like bullshit, in my opinion, like which doesn't really have so many impacts in your life. But I have been doing the same shit, all right, meditation, journaling. I have been very consistent, but let me tell you, all right, they do have benefits, and I can like see them, I can feel them, but they do not really change your life. If you're in this stage where you are like, you don't have like that much of money, like, come on. And if you start prioritizing your meditation, journaling, this bullshit rather than your actual work, that's where the problem is. And some people can, and I'm not telling you to quit all of this bullshit, all right? I'm not telling you to do that shit either. You can do it, but first things first, if you're in a situation where you're at the most down level of your life, your first priority is to be getting out of that place first, all right? And just making yourself into the place of improvement. And yes, from the title of the video, that's what I'm trying to say. You just gotta if you really want to start improving your life, the first step should be, I don't know what's going on with my hands, but yeah, the first step should be having a nice, good meal, which is protein rich. Yes, you need a good meal, by the way. And you can definitely, you just need a high protein meal and your work. That's it. That's all you gotta fucking prioritize if you really want to start improving your life. This is it. And yes, you can say, oh, is a meal also important? Like, it is not that important, all right? If you cannot afford such a meal right now, that's it. Even stop thinking about that. Just work, right? Just eat to live and just focus on your work. But if you genuinely can afford a little bit of, your budget into your food, like just try to have a good meal, all right? Because not for having a good and aesthetic physique, but actually it kind of really helps with the work. I'm being honest with you. Once you have a very high protein meal, like which is healthy generally, it helps you into making you motivated in your work, because genuinely what you eat is your fuel. As a human being, what you eat is very important. I'm being honest with you. So first things first, prioritize this two shit. If you really want to, if you're just in a situation where you're really at the worst stage of your life, like you're just tired of your life, you know what I'm trying to say? I know some people can relate, some might not, but all you gotta prioritize, right, is your work. That's the number one priority. The work that's really gonna get you out of the worst situation of your life, whatever it is, studying, making content, video editing, be your business or whatever bullshit that is. That's not bullshit, but yeah, whatever. And your meal. I used to neglect my meal, alright. I didn't give a shit about what I was eating, but generally, I do not give a fuck, but I do not give a fuck about what I was eating. But when I started taking care of what I eat, like seriously, my motivation, everything just started getting better. And yes, you can also put working out in your daily routine. If you have time for it, you can definitely do it. But what I'm trying to say is like I'm not saying these habits, I'm not talking about working out, by the way. These habits, like these micro habits, like journaling, meditating, like the general self-improvement habits. This have so many great influence in your life. There's just so many improvements, like generally very good improvements in your life that you can actually put. But so you can definitely make arguments to me saying that We can definitely prioritize like 5 minutes of meditation, 10 to 20 minutes on journaling. Yes, you can definitely do that. If you can, that's very good for you. But I'm telling you, majority of you will fail this shit. Because if you're trying to put that shit into your daily routine as well, even though it sounds like, oh, 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes of journaling, these are not very entertaining habits. And it's kind of like, it takes a little bit of friction, like it takes a little bit of resistance, like to overcome the resistance, because there's a little bit of friction to do those things. And if you try to motivate yourself, like your motivation starts, like if you try to motivate yourself for those minor things as well, your motivation to work on the main things kind of also get decreased. So if you really want to genuinely improve your life, I'm saying this from my experience, but I'm not just LARPing without any kind of like experience and stuff like that. First, focus on the things that actually matter, that actually matters in your life. First, understand the situation that you are in. Whatever the creators you see on social media have already made it, or they are in a situation where they can basically just focus on their work and work peacefully. You have already so many problems in your life, maybe family problems, relationship problems, financial problems, whatever it is. And fix those fucking problems first, like something that you need to understand. Then you can care about journaling and meditating. And as I said, I'm not telling you to neglect them. If you can, definitely do it. Put them in your daily routine. But it's also not necessary, because it won't really put a lot of impact in your life. That's the whole point of this video. Personally, for me, once I stopped thinking a lot about all this bullshit and first prioritize, like for a few months, it's just for a few months, by the way. The whole thing that I'm saying, like having a good meal and just focusing on your work, it's only for a fucking few for a fucking few days. And that's the only way that you can genuinely easily, like it's much easier to just focus on your work, just having a nice meal and just focusing on your work, right? So that's it. And by nice meal, I don't mean a very good tasting meal. I just mean healthy meal, by the way. So yes, definitely a guy who just prioritizes on his good meal, on having a high protein meal and just work, is always going to outperform the guy who is focusing on all this bullshit micro habits about self-improvement. I hope this video is helpful to you in some way. If you have any thoughts for this video or any problems with your life, you can definitely leave it down in the comments. Until then, stay disciplined.